All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Sunday Speedrunner Spotlight. I'm a little under the weather today, so hopefully it's all good. Recovering from illness caught from vacationing. My bad, but anyway, on to the show here. We've got FlibidyDibidy. Welcome to the stream.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. This is great.
Yeah, you're doing something in speedrunning that no one else really is, so this should be an interesting
Yeah.
discussion, I think. So, do you kind of want to summarize
Yeah,
what you do?
absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm this is great because hi, hello, in case you haven't met me before, I'm FlibidyDibidy and I am more of an engineer than a speedrunner, definitely on but I have done some speedrunning. And what I'm working on is kind of improving the format for live speedrunning races. So specifically competitions where multiple people are playing at the same time. And I love races. I love competition. I love watching them, but it can sometimes be hard to see who's winning and who's behind when you're looking at a lot of different screens. So I'm working on a technology system to combine multiple people onto one screen, and so that we can see them all. And GTA's, you've got to compete in them, so maybe you can say, is the format fun for you, or how's that been?
It's kind of the coolest thing I've ever done. So I might be horribly biased, but I mean, my opinion stands. So take it as you
Yeah.
will.
No, and well, that's the whole point, right? The idea is that like the runners get to be able to race at the same time, and the audience gets to actually be a part of it and see it instead of trying to like look at all these different screens. So yeah, no, I'm glad to hear that it's fun for you guys. It's it's just it's another way, and I'm kind of like trying to build that up and extend it to other games, and trying to I don't know, just sort of build this format, obviously inspired by the Tetris guys and that kind of thing. But it's like, I don't know, it just gives us another way of enjoying this hobby that we share.
Yeah, it really just opens the door for being a more like visually appealing competitive esport in a way.
Yeah, exactly, right. So, and I think that for a lot of people, like if you look, I kind of joked about like a mom test. Like you're watching your YouTube video and your mom comes over, and if she looks at it and sees like a whole bunch of different screens, she's gonna be like, "That's too much. I'm gonna walk away." But if she sees like actually multiple Mario's on one screen, and obviously one's in front of the other, and there's excitement and there's whatever, like it's very accessible even to someone who's not as in tune as with the races as we are, right?
Hmm.
um like you could look at a Super Mario Bros and recognize where they are in the world because you've played it tens of thousands of times. But
Yeah.
but someone else might have a problem with that.
Yeah, it really solves that issue to where like anyone could, especially anyone that grew up with the game, which is most people that care about video games, uh, can look at that and be like, "Oh, I understand this now. This makes sense in my brain." So,
So no, and it's been fun. So I've been working on that competition format, but I've also made a few videos, some time ago, um, and I have other kind of projects that I've been thinking about, and but it always comes down to you don't have enough time to do everything you want to do. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I know you have a ton of obligations besides just this, so it's definitely hard to do everything.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely one of the problems, like it's like I have I have a real job, I have a family, and so this is always kind of taken the second second role or whatever, just in terms of my hobby time. But yeah, we were at Pace twice, and then I've hosted my own event the one time. And yeah, you've been at two of those. You've been at both of the Pace ones. And
Yep.
every time, this last time we had 18 competitors, which was a lot. The most number of competitors that I've had before, and we played something like 300 or 400 games
Holy
of
crap.
Mario. I know, it's insane because like um, with that many people and that many rounds, yeah, it really added up.
That's fair. Yeah, you do 8 races dozens of times. I guess the multiplication makes sense.
exactly. But it was still surprising
Oh
when
yeah, I wasn't
uh,
expecting that number.
no, because then I have to. So I record everything using my hardware modification that I made to the console. But then um, what had happened in some of the earlier ones is I'd actually lost a recording. And so this time I'm like, I'm just going to record straight through from the beginning to the end. I'm not going to turn it off. Then I need to go through and like extract when, when the race changes and stuff like that. So it's, I don't know. Then that number starts becoming a little imposing, or
Hmm.
I don't know, intimidating. Maybe is a better word.
That's got to take up a bunch of space too.
Yeah, it I guess so. It's not it's a little bit more compressed than like video because I'm
Oh, okay.
actually so yeah, I guess to explain a bit how it works is so we want to be able to see multiple racers on one screen, right? This is our goal. We want to be able to have people playing on separate consoles and then see them all at one time. So what we need to do is we need to first extract the information from each runner. So like when you were playing, you had your console that you were playing on an original CRT with your controller, all that stuff. The console that you were playing on, I had modified, right? So I had installed inside of that console a really small device that would just snoop on what the CPU was doing. So what the central processing unit inside the console was doing. So when it told the RAM, hey, put this number in this address, if I cared about it, I would then like take note of that and send it to the computer. Um, and so then I'm just watching for specific writes to memory and a few other things. But anyway, like specific writes to memory. And so that information is then what I'm recording. And it's actually a lot smaller than like a video frame, right? I might only be interested in a few, hundreds of memory addresses per frame. And so like that it compresses down. It's not that much information, but it's enough that then have that information coming into the computer from the console. And then I wrote software to combine that information together into the scene that you would see on the stream and stuff.
So all that information creates the picture that gets translated onto the screen.
Yeah, so like I have yeah, so like for everyone's Mario, I know everyone's object attribute memory, so that's like the sprites and that sort of thing on the console. And then I have and then my program that I wrote on the computer then reads all of that and puts them all together. Um, it's not there's a lot of stuff that was done specifically for Super Mario Bros, right? That's part of why it makes it hard to extend other games. It is possible, but hard because like I had to extract the maps ahead of time and and some of that stuff, right? So like I don't know. It's the kind of thing where it's hard. Like, how much detail should we go into?
Yeah, I'm sure it would go over my head. It already kind of is. So I understand,
Yeah,
but
well, yeah.
I
I mean, hope
grasp
maybe
a basic understanding though.
yeah. Basically, right? Like what's happening on your console, I'm watching, and then putting that information together, right? And that's why it could be extended to other games, right? You would need to know what to watch for, right? And you would need to have the program to then display that information in like a relevant way, right?
Hmm.
Um, so I think like that's like kind of the technical side. But then you have like you need a appropriate community, right? And that's why Super Mario Bros was a great first choice, right? Because there's you guys and everyone. There's enough people playing it that we can have these competitions and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it translates really well because as it stands right now, I can't really see a way of doing it without the game being a 2D platformer. Like it just
Nice.
seems really hard, or I can't grasp like how it would be done yet.
Yeah, and that's where we would have to, you have to be creative or have to
Hmm.
come up with something else, right? So, like, obvious, like don't know. Obvious one would be like Marble Madness. That would work really. That would be pretty straightforward, right?
That'd be really funny to watch. Just
Yeah,
all the
just
marbles
a whole
go
bunch of
down. Yeah,
all the
that's
marbles going
awesome.
down, right? So that's a straightforward one. I think from like a the highest impact one to go for would honestly be like Super Mario 64,
And that's what
right?
everyone's asking for. But again,
Yeah,
like, how
it's
though?
it. Well, I mean, it's 3D, right? So of
Hmm.
course that adds some complexity. But the great thing is the game has to have like a really like a strong technical community as well as a strong speedrunning community, and like we have to know the game. Like for Super Mario Bros. One, there's this wonderful disassembly from this guy named Doppelganger, who and he of course used other people's work as well. But anyway, like there is this assembly of Super Mario Bros. One, which you can read, and see what's happening in the code, and that makes um, building this kind of system so much better. Well, Super Mario 64 has a disassembly as well, and it has like a re-implementation in C, I believe, and things like this, right? So it has, and there's people out there who have the technical expertise, right? Um, but and then of course there's a huge group of people that run it, so it's definitely possible, but it's hard to find the people who want to do it and find the time to do it if I have to do it myself or that kind of thing.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean it's a ton of work. I mean, obviously, to build up to what the Mario One stuff is now, it took years. So it'd be like
Yeah,
that with any
no,
game, unless you have like a proper team behind it, which is hard to find.
right, and of course, like it's hard to motivate people to devote that much of their time and effort to
Yeah.
this, I think. But I mean, I definitely think it's possible. I think that it's high on my wish list of things that if I had infinite time and
Hmm.
money and whatever, then I'd be looking into it more.
Yeah, but unfortunately, those things get in the way. Darn life.
Yeah, yeah. This is it, right?
Yeah. Well, I can at least see like all the other 2D Mario games translating pretty well, especially 2J because of course it's like super
Oh yeah,
similar. You just have to find a way to get consistent load times. But even that, you probably like
yeah.
modify a ROM to remove them, put it on NES, and make it like a competitive only version or something.
Yeah, and this is an interesting part of it, right? I've always been kind of pretty pure, if that's the
Mm-hmm.
right word, about like the ROMs. Like we use original cartridges. Like you were playing on an original modified Duck Hunt cartridge. Like I bought dozens of them,
Yeah.
and like a console that in the beginning was completely unmodified. I was just using the video, but that was way too brittle. It didn't work in this kind of setting. So then I kind of had to sully things a bit and put something in the console to watch what's going on. It only watches. It doesn't change anything. Um, but there's actually a part of me that's kind of you know would make my life a lot easier. It would make the whole process a lot easier if we did allow some of those changes, some of those like modifications, like you're saying, like to the ROM for like 2J. Um, the load times is definitely something. It would be inappropriate to
Yeah.
have something outside of your control as a runner impact your time. But yeah, does it cross a line? I don't know, right?
I think
Um,
in a competitive
no,
specific format, no, because I mean you make the
right,
rules of the competitive format. If everyone has a fair playing field, it really shouldn't matter.
right, and I think having the fair playing field is more important than
Hmm.
some like purity or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Um, but then there's a part of me that's also like, well, an emulator would be far easier for this kind of thing than
Mm.
original hardware, or like an FPGA based solution. Actually, I just started. Anthony, the who you might be familiar with, who does a lot of the filming on some of these things and put together the videos and all that kind of stuff. Suggested that I look into an FPGA. So I got one and I've been looking at it. So the Mr. FPGA project. But I was wondering about like you. So have you played with one of those before? Like how would a runner respond playing on an FPGA based solution instead of original hardware?
Well, it felt the same because specifically on like a CRT, like the input lag's not going to be there, right? So it feels the exact same. Although then you get into the whole thing of like you can like plug in almost any controller into it, and it's like, oh, here we go, here goes the rabbit hole. So it's like, I don't know.
That's the thing, right? So I would if I went down this path, and Anthony's been telling me to do it forever, and then I talked to I got to meet its maximum at Pace this last time, and he had one, and he actually told me that you could play on a CRT, and I'm like, well, that's a huge thing. So I would want it to be CRT, and I would want it to be original controller.
Hmm.
Um, I think for SMB1, a keyboard might be okay if you disable like left and right and whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Um, but you know, I part of it for me is that I like the care about the look, the aesthetic of the event. Like I like that you guys were, sitting in front of a console like an NES,
Hmm.
and then we could look across and there's like 8 of these NESs and 8 CRTs, right? Like I think that's a huge um I think that's an important kind of feeling part of these events. Like it shouldn't feel like if you guys were on LCDs, I don't know, right? Like wouldn't
Hmm.
that would
It
I
feels
feel like that would
authentic.
right, right.
Yeah.
And so but the reality is if I put you guys all on Mr. FPGAs and it didn't mess with your playing, like it feels the same, no lag, no whatever, my side gets like infinitely easier
Mm.
because I could modify potentially the core to do exactly what I want it to do in terms of what information it sends to me. Um, would be, would have HDMI capture like already, all that kind of stuff. But like, what do I lose by doing that? And that's kind of what I'm grappling with like right now.
Yeah, I mean, when it's solely based on a competitive aspect, I mean, you should be able to do whatever you want is because what makes it fair is that it's the same for everyone, right? So, as long as it feels the exact same, like I don't personally see a problem with it, I guess, but that's just me.
Yeah, but that is still good feedback, right? Um, I haven't really decided because the thing is like the main reason is like obviously okay for the NES it's working because the NES runs at like what 3 megahertz, I don't know,
Mhm.
like it's very old. But
Yes.
actually this impacted you were one of the 2 people that had a technical fault, right?
Yes, the game
This
just
last
crashed
event.
randomly, and it's like, well,
Yeah,
can't do much about that, can I?
what do you do, right? And I think I feel like that was unfair to you, right? And Adam Ferrari had the same he had that as well, right?
Hmm.
In his case, I think it was that the cartridge was like jostled, right? And whatever, right? And then it crashed. And then I think in your case, it actually was that particular console that you were on failed, right? We didn't
Oh
use that
wow.
one after, right? And like that was why I was fortunate to have a backup. Like I completely replaced your setup that time. Um,
I see.
it's like if we were on more modern kind of Mr. FPGA, then would those kind of failures go away, or would it introduce other kinds of failures? I don't know, right? I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, this is a whole new thing, right? So we're still discovering what's best as we go.
Oh,
So,
oh, absolutely. We're constantly running into like little, pain points and little boundaries of like what we're doing, right? Um, like and that's also something that I want to, improve, right? Really,
Hmm.
is to have like a better set of rules, a better set of like, here's what we're gonna do if this happens, right? Like I didn't I didn't have a plan about what to do if a console crashed until your console crashed. Right. Right.
I'm
And I'm
always
like,
happy
well,
to help.
yeah, no, I appreciate that. um, that yeah, you were like 10 minutes into a warpless race. That's got to be so
5-1,
frustrating.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and like, oh man, then from your perspective, you had to just like sit back and watch everyone else, and then like do it again. Like just not.
Yeah. I mean, luckily the run wasn't anything special. It was okay. But yeah, I mean,
Oh, but that's the thing. Like, imagine, okay, so you made it 10 minutes through this race, right? In the live setting, you started with everyone else, and then there's a technical failure, and then in your okay, let's redo it. You like die and you make a mistake in the first few minutes or something. What would we have done?
uh, I guess I would have
Like
just been sad, but it didn't happen. So,
that's true. Like I
yeah. I like
but
ended up
like we
getting the same placement I would have, so it didn't end up mattering at
right,
all.
right, and that's great. But the thing is, like,
It couldn't have not been that way.
it could have been a concern, right? And
Yes.
I think, yeah. Oh man, like and this is it's stressful, right? It's stressful for me, right? Because like I'm always like worried about technical problems. I don't know. I was told after the event that like there was a little unapproachable at some points because I was so worried. Because what happened is after your console failed, I was out of backups.
Mm.
I had no backups for like the main day with the main stream or whatever, right? So if something would have gone wrong like irrecoverably, then oh man, what do I do?
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah. A lot to think
but
about.
well, yeah, no, and this is the thing, right? This is where it's funny because it's so much more than just like the technical problem, right? The whole project, the whole idea of this simultaneous racing and having these things going on, it's like that I love the technical side. I'm a math guy, right? Like this, my real career is in optimization. So solving, which is funny because speedrunning is an applied optimization problem. But anyway, um, I love the math aspects of it. But then there's this whole other thing, right? There's the community. There's you guys. There's the runners. Like what works for you? There's the events themselves. What events do we go to, and how do we go to them, and what do we do, and setting up schedules and all that kind of stuff, right? Like there's so much more than just the technical problem.
Hmm. I mean, yeah, there's a ton of things to worry about. Yeah.
And then
Especially.
there's this whole aspect of trying to get it in front of people too,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like we want people to watch it and to enjoy it, and I think that it has merit on that side of things. But how but and I want to get people involved, but how? I
Yeah.
don't know. It's just
It's all a development, work in progress. Even though it
right,
does
right.
work to some extent, that is good at the
Yeah.
moment.
No, I was really happy that you guys got to play. So I'm curious, like from your perspective, right? Like, how did you like us doing the qualifying the day before and having everyone playing against every other person? That's what we tried to do to. That's what I tried to do to get you guys in a list, right?
Yeah.
Wanted to have you guys in order. So we had like I think it was 18 rounds or something where you all played against every other person at least twice and that kind of thing. How was that for you?
I feel like that format makes the most sense. And I like having, there was more time to do it more officially on the stream itself instead of like doing that as part of it because that took up so much time last year.
Well,
So,
yeah. What happened last year is we even missed out on an entire division, right?
yeah.
We had to cut this whole thing, right? Um, No, we had this. I wanted to get we put everyone in a list, and I wanted to get the top. I think it was we did six last year, the
Hmm.
top six, and then the second six. But I had to cut the second group of six, and time. Yeah.
Thank goodness I made first six. No. Yeah.
Well, that's it, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I'm
you
glad
have done,
everyone got to play on stage. That's what I'm glad happened. Everyone still
right,
got to
and
play on stage.
right, and I think that's like absolutely that's required, right? And
Hmm.
that's why we wanted to do that because like from for you guys, for the runners, right? Like you have invested so much time into this game, and you have this, hopefully this opportunity to play with your friends. I guess like so that's for you. How does it feel to be like sitting next to someone like glancing over? How was that for you?
I mean, so I was always used to like 2018, 2019. The way races are done is it's usually just one other person if you're in a tournament aspect, or it's just like a group race for fun kind of thing. And in both those situations, you usually can't like look over and see what everyone's doing. Like in tournament settings, I'd usually have the other stream open, which would be delayed, but kind of to get an idea of like what I can and can't do. But I mean, that makes
Okay,
it
yeah.
it's infinitely easier when you can see in real time where everyone is and adjust accordingly your strategy, which is important in a race format. So, I mean,
Is that something that you did quite a bit? Like what kind of how did you adjust your strategy?
well, the big thing is like if you're ahead of the pack and you're at the Bowser room and you have the time to wait, why wouldn't you, right?
Well, yeah, of course.
I mean, that right there is like the biggest thing I can think of. And then like in Warpless, if you're however many seconds ahead, you could like do safer strategies, wait on certain things if you're not comfortable with the pattern that's coming up, and that's a whole thing in of itself, and it just makes it a lot easier when you see where
Yeah.
everyone is, and you literally have like a live leaderboard with how ahead everyone is of each other, and it's like, okay, here's a literal number that I
Right,
can
right.
judge, and then do what I need to do accordingly. Like it's just really helpful, and it kind of adds like something that's a lot more fun. Like there's a whole like you're trying to put together what you're going to do on the fly. Like that's like a whole other thing you usually don't get. So that's pretty cool to me.
Yeah. I think it opens up some different options, right? Like I loved when we would be in 8-4 and like someone would take the initiative and go for like a one frame wall jump or something, right? Or
Guilty as
I,
charged.
yes, you did that. I distinctly remember that was one of your wins. But it's just it add like and it adds this excitement that and it would be impossible to see if you guys were on like your own screens because like even to commentate because the commentator wouldn't maybe they would be watching yours but they wouldn't watch the other one.
Hmm.
Like yeah, we even had like a tie. Right, like
Guilty as charged.
I know. Right, like to the frame like this is nuts, right? And it's like it just adds this really cool moments, right? So yeah, I do love that you guys can adjust your strategy and that this facilitates that because that adds a layer I think to the whole I don't know the whole competition, right?
Hmm.
Or else you're just kind of like playing like you would at home or whatever. Like I don't know, you're just good you can do that. That doesn't sit right with me.
No, this is a whole new thing, right? So
Mhm.
you have to have completely different like I don't know, abilities, and you gotta get into this new situation. Like you can't just be thrown in and know what you're doing. Like it's different. And now
Right,
if
right.
if you're like me and I had experience with tournaments like in 2019, 2020, even though they were done very differently, like you at least get an idea of a tournament setting, but this is like so much different. It feels so much more real, I guess, because it's
Mhm.
actually real. You're all there.
Yeah, no,
So,
you're actually doing it. Yeah, and I love how how I've been able to keep the latency so low. I don't know, right? Like it was a bit for you guys because you were actually looking at the stream, but like on the computer, um, it's so like it is really snappy, like less than a frame of lag because
Wow.
you know, I'm actually watching memory address writes that are happening even before the frame is shown, like if that makes sense. So it's like it's just it's so cool to have that like immediate feedback, right? um oh yeah, I don't know, that is fun. I sometimes I worry because um it doesn't quite have like a huge amount of strategic depth as like some other competitions, or a huge as much of a response to like RNG and like quick thinking as others. Like there is still an aspect of this that if you were just like really really good and could get a 459 every time, you'd probably win.
Yeah. Well, we've
You
seen
would.
that, so yeah.
Yeah, I know. I wonder who we're talking about. No. But you wouldn't have to you don't have to respond to other people. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Right? Like in chess or something, you absolutely have to uh, respond to your opponent. But in this, you don't necessarily have to do that.
No.
So, I don't know, but like it's still fun. I
Oh
like
no, it's
that.
fine.
That's just something, and I think ultimately that's our goal, right? To have something that's fun and exciting. And from feedback that I've got, like from people in the audience, they're like, "Wow, this is incredible," right? And I love hearing that. Like that's great. But
As
yeah,
someone who's
and
ran, commentated, and watched, it's fun for everyone. So,
right, right. I'm glad I'm. That's another aspect. Commentary is fun, right? So how you commentated with Kriller,
mhm,
right? And you did
too.
the Division 2, right?
Yeah.
How was that experience for you? I guess.
Well, I mean, I have experience doing commentary with a few things. Now, I always like having someone else to like bounce off of, so that's what helped a lot for me personally. But I mean, it's just fun sitting there watching what's happening and reacting in real time and being the voice that like excites the viewers, right? That maybe don't know what's going
Right,
on and you're
right.
like, "Oh, this thing just happened. This is why it's crazy." And it's like
Yeah.
you need that in something like this because a casual viewer isn't going to understand even with the amount of effort to put it all on the one screen and have it be showcased in that way. It's still not going to be a perfect understanding. You need to explain some things
Right.
so they're like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, yeah, and we've been so fortunate to have such a wonderful group of commentators before, right? Like we've, Bismuth and yourself and Kriller, and like sorry, I shouldn't have started naming because I'm not going to go through and name everyone, but just these like I do love that aspect. I think it is important to have um the commentary like and to bring that excitement. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. It's just I enjoy doing that myself, but I also enjoy being able to share that responsibility with others. I think it's good to have that um, other people to have that opportunity.
Hmm. Well, I kind of want to go over like the history of how we got here.
Oh, sure.
So, what like how did you start with like speed running and coming up with this idea?
Yeah, good question. So I really kind of started, I think 9 or 10 years ago, being aware of speedrunning, right? So I think that started. So have you ever played I Want to Be the Guy?
I have heard of it
You
and
okay?
seen
So
it.
yeah,
So yeah.
so I played that. I don't remember how I first saw it. Probably some YouTube video about I Want to Be the Guy, and I'm like I am drawn to things that take effort and take multiple attempts, and you have to try in order to succeed because and then that feels good. So like yeah, I beat the guy. I beat I Want to Be the Guy.
Hmm.
Um, and then I was like looking it up and whatever, and I saw a speed run on YouTube from I think it was Witwix, did I Want to Be the Boshi at some
Hmm.
GDQ
Yeah.
event, something like that. It was quite a while ago, and I was like, I should try this. It's like the evolution of I Want to Be the Guy. And then I had the idea to put them, uh, my attempts at that all together onto one screen. And I wasn't particularly speedrunning. I was just trying to beat the first world. And so I recorded, just with like equivalent of OBS. It was a long time ago, so I think it was something else. I recorded all of my attempts, and then I wrote a whole bunch of Python scripts to combine them together. And actually, this is the first video that's on my channel. It's like 9 years old or something at this point. It's all these little warning signs running around in that.
Hmm.
Um, now, I remember one of the things I had to do was, so when you die in that game, it like sprays blood
Oh,
everywhere.
nice.
This is great. So like what I did is I isolated like pixels that were really really red and then put them all together. So there's this one part right at the end where there's all of the guys jumping and then they all die because it's this hard jump and all the blood goes. I don't know. I thought that was fun. Like I've always been drawn to like the um there's a word for this. It's like time hack or something. I don't remember. There's this idea of watching more than just what is happening right now, right? You're watching hundreds of attempts that they all happen sequentially. You get to watch them all at one time. Like, of course, that's something that Super Meat Boy does in their end of level credits. In racing games, you would see ghosts, right? Like it's not fundamentally a new idea. Um, that's really where it started. So it started with the I Want to Be the Boshi. I did that project. I actually got partway through um, doing that with A Link to the Past because that's another game that I really enjoy. And I was playing that um, on emulator and whatever, right? It's like, and then I was going to combine them together, but then that's a much harder game. Anyway, that's one of those projects that failed. So like I didn't finish.
Yeah.
Um, then I think it was like 3.5 years ago. I don't remember exactly. But COVID, or I guess 4 years. So because COVID was kind of in full swing. Yeah, it was definitely about 4 years ago and a few months. And I came down one day to my wife and I said, I have an idea. And she's like, okay, because I have a lot of ideas, but this one actually went somewhere. And I'm like, I'm like, I should do my idea, the thing that I did with with the Bashi, and like and then I was watching, I think the Tetris stuff, right? The Tetris stuff was really big at that time. I mean, still is. But anyway, at that time, it was also really big. And I was like, what if we kind of like do this with Super Mario Bros? And I had seen like Cosmics, I think, had the world record at the time, the 455.6 or whatever it was. Um, and I was like, I should try, doing some stuff with that. And so then I wanted to, um, sorry, I hope I'm not like just talking too much.
This is
But
fine. That's what we're here
that's the
for.
point, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was like, okay, I have an opportunity because I had not played Super Mario Bros. 1 since I was like, a kid or whatever, right? Not like fully. But I was like, while I am learning this game, while I am trying to, see if this is feasible or whatever, right? Have some, I need to do some speed running as well, right? To like understand it a bit more. Um, I played hard games before, but actually speedrunning is quite a bit different than just playing a hard game, right? You're of course very familiar with this. But like it's, so I'm like, okay, so I had the idea, why don't I just record all of my attempts and put them together? And I'm like, I should go for a sub 5. That's a pretty, reasonable sort of goal. And during that process, I was recording whenever I would play, and I was also trying to figure out kind of on the technical side to like understand the game and to understand the NES and to understand how these things all tick and work, right? So I made a number of videos. combining different things together, showing different like tricks and things like that, and posting them. And thankfully, and I made a picture, which I think is your background. Is that true?
Hmm. That
uh,
mine's from the all sub five,
okay,
the
so
first all sub
right,
fives video.
right. So a later one, but I made a picture and I posted it to Reddit. Data is beautiful. I showed all of the everyone who had beaten Super Mario Bros. I downloaded all the videos. I cropped them all to size. A lot of this was manual.
Mm.
Cropped them all to size, found the right frame that they started on, and then went to the right time in the video where they ended. And if they were in the final room of Bowser, I think I manually tagged where their Mario was and where Bowser. Like I think for that image, I clicked on like every hammer for every run,
Oh my
to
god.
like make it together. It's like I'm not afraid of some manual work, but eventually it should hopefully become automated. But anyway, now it is, of course. But anyway, then I made that image and I put it on Reddit, and it got a lot of attention. I think like 20,000 upvotes or something like
Turns out
that,
that data
right?
is beautiful.
Yeah, and like and it's compelling, right? And seeing people like hey, right? Like, and I don't know, and seeing and being able to see difference, right? And that was at the time that it was before all of the 454 stuff was going down, right? And I think I labeled a couple of the Mario's. You know what's actually funny? I'm pretty sure there's a mistake in that image,
Mm.
um, in terms of the time. Like I think the gap between first and second is not correct. Something like this. I think I anyway.
Mm.
I'll let someone go and find out for sure, but I'm pretty sure I messed something up when I looked at it later. When I looked at my stuff, anyway, um, that's okay. Data doesn't have to be accurate to be beautiful.
That's the spirit.
um, but yeah. Anyway, and then that image that was pretty cool. But then yeah, things really took off when I started combining runs together, right, for people to look at. And originally it was like world record runs. It was showing like there's this world record versus that other world record. And I think that resonated with the community, right? Like people got to see kind of that sort of thing, and it was pretty fun. I had one where I showed, I think, all the second barriers. That was a fun video. I showed
Mm.
it because when the 454 happened, so I showed, Andrew G's 459. I showed the 458, 7, 6, 5, so on. But then, of course, right, all this time I was still trying to speedrun the game myself. And I recorded something like 5,000 attempts of my own videos, of my 5,000 of my own attempts.
Mm.
And then to put those together. What's funny is so I think I ended up with like a 458. And you of course are intimately familiar with the exponential difficulty increase,
Oh
like
yeah.
a 458 is not it's okay, it's fine, but it's not
It's
that
pretty
hard,
good.
right?
Yeah, it's not that
Yeah,
hard,
it's
but it's
like
pretty good.
it's like 200 hours or something, but it's like for me, and I was pretty slow. I think like I've seen cases where other more experienced runners get that in like, I don't know, like a few days or something. um
It can happen.
yeah, but for me it definitely took a little while. But yeah, so anyway, and then I put those all together, and that video, that was insane. Never had anything like that, where it like actually something that actually went viral, right? um in the sense, and I think right now it's sitting at something like 3 million views. I don't know.
Wow.
Like it, people, I think that there's many aspects that people like about it, right? They love seeing me fail, right?
Mm.
That's just something, you love watching people's failures, right? And attempts. It's just something like visceral. It's something human. You want, you want it like, they love watching all the different Marios dying at different points. Um, but also to see like the success, and to be able to see, 100 hours of someone's life in a few minutes, I think is really, appealing, right? It's intriguing. Um, and so very, very fortunate that that one got like shared around and stuff, right? Um, but what's funny is that the original idea was on competitions. The original idea was on, having live competitions with people. This was just kind of a side thing while I was getting everything working. Um, but of course, that's often what happens.
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, it's funny. The thing was, I don't know if I did as good of a job as I could have as communicating to people, because of course that was seen by people who had not played the game very much, or were not like familiar. Some people thought that the first Mario was like the world record, or some people thought that it was like everyone who had played the game. And people like would comment, and and other people would sometimes correct them and stuff. But that I don't know. Anyway, I think it did a good job of kind of demonstrating a bit of speedrunning. Well, I mean, I titled it that because it's a side of speedrunning that you don't often see. The thing is, if it was like your attempts, right, there would be tens and tens of thousands of
Over
Marios, right?
20,000.
Yeah, over 20,000 Marios, right? It's like, and that's not even accounting for the practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, just attempts from the beginning. I guess 5,000 was enough. Sometimes I
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I think about going back and doing more, but then I feel like, am I just beating a dead horse? Also, I don't know if I have the fortitude, right? You speedrunners are have like this immense ability to do something so many times until you get it to work, right? Like that's a lot of effort.
Yeah.
So to do something 20,000 plus times, it's I don't know. That takes a lot out of someone. Um, yeah, I don't know. So that kind of, then it was just slowly, so just evolving from there. I haven't done a great job of kind of demonstrating all of the different things. It's hard for me to find the time and to find the best way of communicating that to people. Like I don't think, there's lots of gaps in like the videos. There were lots of attempts. Like I thought maybe I could just look at controller inputs. If I could just track what buttons you were pressing, um, then I could reconstruct what was happening. Um, and like I got that somewhat working, but then I don't know when the console is on or off really well and things like that. Um,
Hmm.
the way that like I don't know, maybe I'm getting on like a weird horse here, but as an engineer, right? Like the way that you approach these problems has to be, step by step, right? It has to be one thing after the other. You have to pick, you want to do a certain amount of planning and understanding up front, but you're never going to really know what you need to do until you get into it, right? And that was my approach to this problem. It was like, okay, so I'm going to start with this. Oh, that's not good. I need to improve this. Oh, so it's all this process. Um, and I think it would be cool someday to collect a lot of that history into like one video and show like clips and like describe. But the thing is, like, when do I do that? Because I'm not done yet, right? I'm not. It's the project is not finished. There's so many more of these steps that I want to take. It's like I don't know, and then I could spend that time improving it, right? Like obviously from what you went through, like I think the technical, like the robustness of the system should be improved. I think the rules and regulations should be written down. I think it's like you just gotta go so many steps to take.
Yeah. I mean, it's a ton of work in its own way. So,
Yeah, yeah. But what's funny is that it kind of mirrors speedrunning in general, right? So like
yeah.
when you're speedrunning a game, right, you should take you need to I always I so I speed ran. I don't know. Is that what's the acceptable term? Speed
Oh,
runned
I
or
don't know.
ran? No, I I approached Super Mario Bros. One incorrectly, right? And that's one of the reasons it took me 191 hours or whatever it was, 5,000 attempts to get
Hey,
a 458,
I did the
because I
same
didn't.
thing.
No, yeah, you kind of just want to get you want to get attempts in,
Yeah.
and for me it was so that I could have more Mario's in the video.
Hmm.
But that's such a bad way to attain a skill. How many times did I run through 4-1? I didn't have to, like how much time did I waste on that when I could have been practicing, something that is actually difficult, right? Like I remember finding in 1-2, it's kind of silly to you and others who are so experienced, but 1-2, that like jump over the Koopa and the two Goombas after you run under that block, I found that really challenging.
I think most
Right?
people do.
So it's like maybe I should have spent more time practicing that, or like, and that's something where Nifsky just demonstrates, and others, right, and many others demonstrate like an ability to practice the parts that they need to practice so effectively. Um, but sometimes it's funner just to like spam attempts. And for the video, I wanted more Mario, so I wanted more Mario starting at the beginning. So,
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely need to approach speedrunning a specific way, but if you don't know that way, you're usually going to do it wrong. I mean, I did it wrong. I spammed attempts for the most part, and it probably took me the same amount of attempts to get 458 as you did.
yeah, yeah, and then we look at other people who actually practice, and they're like getting it,
And it's like, oh,
oh,
that's what I should be doing.
oh, right, practice.
That's what it
But
is.
but that's the same as this project, right? It's about breaking it into pieces and then trying to improve a particular piece, right?
Hmm.
And that's something that I like. So one of the things that's funny, right? I don't know. This is one of the pieces, is that initial qualification, right? So you guys, or the ranking, right? That's actually a kind of tricky problem. Like to have, there were 18 people who playing any percent, and only 8 could play at a time. I needed to come up with a schedule so that you all got to play against one another roughly equally, right? It wouldn't be fair if in every match, you were with yourself, right? Or like someone else was
Yeah.
with, you need to distribute people playing against one another. Um, but even that, right? That's kind of a tricky problem. And of course, being uh, my real work is in that sort of world, is in that optimization world. I was able to model it as an optimization problem, and solve it and things like that. But it's like just one little piece of deciding, that the schedule for the day before is something that actually took many hours of work to write the program to do that, and it's like something that maybe that's something I need to do, the unseen side of this ridiculous project, because it's like every little thing needs, has something associated with it. um but that's anything, right? That's even yourself in this podcast, right? You have to find people, and you have to schedule them, and you have to account for these things, and like you have to put in a ton of work to host something like this that's behind the scenes, right? That people might not recognize, and
A
it's
little
like,
bit.
I don't know, yeah.
Could be worse, but yeah.
No, of course, that's always it, right? um
Everything is behind the scenes, so
yeah, and it's like, so because something that I feel like I could potentially do a better job of doing is like communicating that to people. But then I also just want to get the results like looking better. But we've been, oh my gosh, so extremely fortunate on that. Like I am absolutely terrible when it comes to like filming or editing or anything like that. That's not something that I know. But we have this incredible help from Anthony, who was there and filming and had brought all these cameras and all this kind of stuff. And it's like that is such a benefit to this whole project that we can see that. And it's like, I don't know, that's just something to be grateful for. Right.
Yeah.
um yeah.
So, what was it like on the lead up to the first like actual, okay, we're gonna do the tournament now?
Yeah, that was a really funny time, and I think unfortunately you had to run, like, you weren't able to make it to that first one, which is
Yeah.
unfortunate. The timing was really tricky. So what had happened was, I had got it basically working, and I'd been chatting with Cosmic on and off, about the project and about different things. And Cosmic actually lives one state over from me. So I was gonna be like, Cosmic, why don't you come and we'll try it out in my garage or something? Because like I got it kind of working. And Cosmic's like, oh yeah, like actually that sounds pretty cool. And then it turns out that Jeremy MKW lives like really close to me, like an hour away or something. Um, and it's like, oh, okay, well, wow, like I don't know, let's start getting other people right involved who might want to play. And then it was like, oh, it turns out that Nivsky is going to be in Colorado this particular week, which I think was like a couple of weeks in the future. And it was like, well, we can't let that opportunity pass, or it might have been a couple of months, I don't remember. But just kind of fell together. And then I had so the guy who we had to get our house painted because the previous owners had the house as like a dark blue color, which we didn't really like that much. So my wife and I were like, okay, we're gonna get it painted, and found this guy on Facebook, and he came, and then he saw my like setup on the desk. There's like all these consoles like ripped apart, and like, and he's like, what the heck are you doing here? and I'm like, oh, and he ended up being like really interested in retro gaming, not a speedrunner, and not involved in the speedrunning scene, but really enjoyed retro games. And he's like, wow, this is really cool. And so like I went over to his house a couple of times, and he has like this incredible setup in his basement, with like a whole bunch of different consoles and all this kind of stuff, right? And all like, he's one of those guys who has all the old retro consoles in boxes up on like a shelf, And I was like, that's neat. Um, and then he's like, oh, I actually know someone who owns a games store here in Denver, and like with the space, and like we don't have to do it in your garage. We could do it at his space. I'm sure he would want to have you guys over and stuff. And so it was just this,
Wow.
like, just it just weird thing where it all kind of came together. And we had I think nine people got to come to that first one, nine speedrunners. But then there was also multiple like, people that I knew, or people around. And yeah, Rupert, of course. Also, Rupert lives in the same city as Jeremy and I.
Hmm.
It's like that. Anyway, I don't know. It was just it was a crazy time, and it all just kind of came together, and it really pushes me to get it working. Right? There's something to be said about the stress of people like flying out somewhere for your thing,
Hmm.
for you to like make it work. you know it's like,
That's
uh,
pressure. Yeah.
yeah, it adds a lot of pressure. But thankfully that went really well, and it just kind of just fell together, all of the different things. Like even my wife was in school at the time, and her school had both photography and videography, and so she got me in contact with like the videography, and like they came
Hmm.
out to like film. And we were, I don't know, that was nuts. It was a really um it was really challenging, because when I was originally telling people like, yeah, you can come, like, yeah, come, this was great, it wasn't like I didn't have eight or working.
Hmm.
Like I didn't have so then I had to go, like I didn't have all the TVs, I didn't have all the consoles, I didn't have all the whatever, right? So it's like lots of uh because that's part of it, right? Buying all these TVs and buying all these consoles, and when you start multiplying by eight, things get big quickly, and it's like, it's fun. That's the whole point, right? It's just Um, then that came together, and that was really really fun, really cool. And then pace. So the problem was I don't know if this is right, but I don't particularly enjoy all of the logistics, all the difficulties of like venue and I mean, I don't know, right? And also because it was essentially a small invite, I don't know, event in my backyard, right? Not, but because it was at this venue, but it was like, we want to be at an event where there's other people and other things going on, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think that's better for the runners, right? Because they get to meet their friends and other people, and there's other things to do, and that's where like pace kind of was a really really good option, right?
It made the
Because it was
most
like
sense because they're a competitive focused speedrunning event.
exactly
So
right, and
lines up.
very fortunate to have like Milo involved and to help and to be like, yeah, let's do it. Um, I would like to go to other events too, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I would like to do. Actually, even for the first one, uh, Edinal from GSA or ESA, whoop, excuse me, ESA, um, even kind of sponsored the event, helped out, like helped with some of the costs associated with the event. And he was like, just because I love speed running, and I'm like, that's so, hugely appreciated, right? Um, but of course, getting over to Europe is a big deal in
Mm.
and itself, and I don't know if we have all the runners or whatever for that. But obviously GDQ would be great. I've reached out to them a number of times, but it hasn't worked out
Yeah,
yet.
they're
But I
not
think it could.
they're not really a competitive thing. That's more
Right.
like
It's
it would be a cool showcase, I guess, but like the primary focus of the technology is a competitive aspect. So I understand them not
right.
being as interested as something like GSA would be, where it's literally their thing. So it's like, yes, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, pace has been incredible. We've done it twice. Um, First one, I flew like there, and I shipped everything ahead of time, like in a big
Mm.
box.
Oh.
And oh man, that was stressful. Because I was really worried about like what if the box doesn't show up, or what if it gets damaged, or what if anything, right? Just what a stressful thing. And I flew with quite a bit of stuff. Um, that's challenging too, right? So this was stressful. So then this last time I actually drove, and it was like 26 hours of driving one way, which I wouldn't
Oh my
recommend.
god.
It was terrible. It was awful. But then I was confident that my stuff was going to be there because I was going to be there. Like I don't know. That's one aspect of pace which is a little challenging for me is just the distance. I don't know. That's I don't have a good solution for that either.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, pace has been super fun and great to meet people. Right, I've gotten to meet so many incredible people throughout this whole thing. Right, the runners and commentators, anyone involved. That's been such a fun part of this whole project. Um, and pace facilitates that, and like they have the venue and they deal with that stuff. So
Yeah. I mean, it's worked out very well. I mean, it's only grown, so that's cool.
yeah, that is true. I think the next steps is definitely we need more games, right?
Yeah.
There's a limited, you know, um, there's only so many Super Mario Bros. One runners, and I appreciate there's more coming all the time, which is great, and that's fantastic. But I think the logical next step is more games, another game. I got to buckle down and do it, but it's just such a task
Hmm.
um, to find the time.
Yeah, I mean, like every game would need its own like way around it. Almost starting from scratch. Probably not exactly, but like the idea
Yeah,
process is probably from scratch.
in the learning process,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I have to learn the game. I got to know what's going on in the game. Like at a really deep level, right? Like in Super Mario Bros. Like I need to watch there's a few memory addresses that are like really relevant, like that show like is Mario under your control or not, things like this, right? It's like you don't just know that. No, you don't. Like it's impossible to just like know that this is something that's relevant to you. No, you need to learn it, discover it, find it. And that's where right? Like and putting them together. Yeah,
Hmm.
and you can get in such a rabbit hole. Um, we could talk about that forever. I could talk about all these little tiny little things, like like even the coins, right? And like them disappearing and not, and how they're rendered as part of the background. They're rendered as like name table entries. They're not sprites.
Mm.
Things like that. And every game was doing ridiculous things at the time. Like I did look briefly at Marble Madness, and it's funny because you got like a background, and it's like great, but they actually used some sprites to like fix some issues in the background.
Oh,
you know,
interesting.
you don't notice that, right? But it's just like it just makes sense, right? Put a sprite there in front and to fix it, it's actually part of the background, and it's like, well, okay, like these are things that you all of these tiny little things have to be understood and handled. And it's like,
Yeah. Um, but yeah, what are games you would like to tackle if you
um,
had infinite time?
oh yeah, well, so infinite time. Well, then I would just do every game that I'm interested in at all.
Okay, I guess like
So like,
what you can
yeah, some amount of
realistically
prioritizing.
see. Yeah.
Yeah, some amount of prioritization. So I personally, I would love something like Link to the Past. Like I said, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, I think would be awesome. I would love to see that one. It's kind of tricky, but that's a game that's a game from my childhood that I'm a huge fan of. Obviously, but then set my personal kind of thing aside. I think I have to prioritize based on my limited time and the impact, right? And for that, Super Mario 64 is the top of that list,
Mm.
right? Because it has the highest potential impact, like from a like the community and view and so on, and even my with pace, right?
Yeah.
So it's the logical view from the impact kind of thing. But other than that, I think like there are some that would be relatively straightforward to do. So like SMB2J, right? Why not? Honestly, some of those memory addresses are the same. It was funny because at that original event in November, Scalpel was there, who's absolutely what a phenomenal person. Like anyway, like in cubing and also in this and everything. Anyway, Scalpel came to that event, and after we finished, it was just playing SMB2J. And what's funny is that all the Mario's from SMB2J were showing up on screen because we had it. I just left it running,
Hmm.
and just on a black background, right? Because so much of that game is shared, right? So like it was actually kind of working.
Hmm.
So SMB2, I would just need to extract all of the map data and all this kind of stuff, right? Do that work. But that one would be relatively low cost, right? In terms of time. Still, by relatively low, I do mean like probably months of effort,
Yeah.
which, would be months of like dedicated effort, which I just don't have dedicated time.
Hmm.
Right? But anyway, so that would be good. And I would like to do Marble Madness just because I love the visual of all the marbles going down. These are kind of like my initial thoughts. Also, another one would be Tetris.
Mm.
Then that's a question of like how and why. But the thing is, the Tetris, I think, of course, there's already a bunch of people doing that, right? So it's like I don't want to step on toes or whatever. But I personally enjoy NES Tetris as well, and I wonder how we could innovate, right? On that head-to-head format, like could we do something innovative with having 8 people playing at once to change the format, change the setup? I think that would be fun. Um, very approachable, right? From technically. Um, yeah, I don't know. so many.
Yeah, it's a lot to think
uh,
about.
yeah, but, but yeah, I do think, of course we're crossing a dimensional boundary, going to Super Mario 64, but it would be I think the best.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is like the most popular competitive speedrun game, so
I, and this is where, hey, if someone is out there who knows the game and wants to be involved, and is willing to do that, like that would I'm open. I'm all ears. Um, I do recognize that it's hard to motivate people to put that effort in on something that is kind of silly. Because it
the
is. What we're doing is silly, right? What we're talking about is silly.
I
But
guess in the grand scheme of things, but
yes.
for us speedrun nerds, it's the coolest thing ever. So it's like that's what matters, right?
Right. Right. And that's I do agree with that. And what's actually kind of funny is I've been a lot more open about the project. For a long time I've been kind of like in my real life. Like, for a long time, I don't know, I just kind of like, it was just like a hobby that I kind of kept to myself. Like, sure, on the internet, you guys, right?
Hmm.
People I would know, I would talk to people. But in my real life, like no one would know that this is something that I was doing. And I've been being like a lot more open about it. Even people that I work with, um, did like my boss watched the video, and like people that work for me, watch the video, watch some know what I'm doing, and that's kind of silly, but I think that's good, right? And actually, what's interesting is people that aren't the speedrun nerds. They appreciate what's going on and they see it and they think it's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, like it I think it has that appeal, um, which is cool, right?
Oh yeah. Um, since you're bringing up like people helping out, I know ever since last year's PACE event, you were talking about trying to like make the give this a name, give everything a I don't know an identity, I guess. What's like the progress on that? I know you have a name now, and I just don't know
Yeah.
like
So
the intricate details,
yeah,
I guess.
I want to do it all under the retrotournaments.org domain. Right.
Okay.
So I bought that domain. I got retrotournaments.org. I think having an identity sometimes starts with the domain name, um,
Okay.
nowadays. So eventually, that is what I want to do. So I want, but like that website is under construction, and I'm not a web guy. I'm a math guy. Remember, so it's awful. Anyway,
Mm.
but retrotournaments.org, I think once I want that to be kind of where people go to get. That'll have records of what we've done. That'll have links to the videos. That will have where eventually you would sign up
Mm.
compete. So you would have like a profile there. You, GTS, you would have a profile, that you could
Okay.
then sign up for events and stuff there and be aware of what's going on. And there would be retrotournaments.org/live or something, which would show, what's going on or link to the streams. You know what I mean? Like it would
Hmm.
be, this is where people could go to then funnel down to different uh, things, right? So the other things would be, I'm not as confident on this name. But I want the Competitive Retro Gaming Association, which sounds almost a little too pompous, if that makes sense, or weird. The idea is that would be holding things like the regulations, right? Like the rules. I would eventually want it to be like a non-profit association. This whole thing, I've never made a dollar. I'm thousands of dollars in the hole, right?
Mm.
Like my own pocket, right? That's because it's fun, right? And because this is a hobby. Some people make cars, right? That's expensive too. Uh,
Yeah.
you
Fair
know,
enough.
so it's like, but I think a non-profit association, kind of inspired by the World Cube Association. I think there's some overlap there. Like
Mm.
obviously, we were talking about Scalpel earlier. There's some overlap in the cubing and the speedrunning world, um, and like so, the World Cube Association kind of organizes these events, and they hold the regulations, and they do that kind of stuff, and they're a nonprofit, and they try to improve this field, this thing that we're doing, right? This hobby that we share, and make it more palatable to others, and interesting, and to give those opportunities to runners and to other people, right? Like, I can't do that alone, but
Mm-hmm.
anyway. That's the one group there, the Competitive Retro Gaming Association. That's what I would like that to be doing, eventually. And then besides that is the technology, right? There's lots of code, and things like thousands of lines of C++, because that's my area of expertise, right? But it's like, tens of thousands. I don't know. It's so much stuff to make it tick, right? Um, and a lot of that is open source. Not all of it, but a lot of it is open source. And I'm working on kind of rewriting and open sourcing as I go. Then that would be under that one is the one I'm least comfortable with. But I kind of came up with the name of Argos, which I realized, which I found out later. And the reason why is because in Greek mythology, there's like this guy with like a bunch of eyes, like ogre or something. I don't know, like hundreds of eyes on this picture, and he's like Argus. I don't know. Anyway, or Argos in some writing. So the idea was like, we got lots of eyes. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of is silly. um, but then I also found out that that's the name of a grocery store in like Europe or something. It'd be kind
Oh.
of like if I named my stuff Safeway or Kroger.
Mm.
It was kind of, I don't know. That part is hard for me. Like, okay, so my screen name is FlibidyDibidy. So I'm clearly not particularly good at naming things. So this is
I think
not
it's
my skill.
great personally, but
Yeah, you think FlibidyDibidy? Oh, it's funny. That's so it's really old too. I think it's like 14 years ago or 15 years ago I did that. Uh, I don't know.
yeah.
I think the problem is, so like for you, right? So, or for others, right? It's hard for you to communicate to other people. I don't know. Like, I feel like it's working against things, right? It's hard to communicate to other people. Like, here's something that here's something that's going on. It's like, oh yeah, go to youtube.com/FlibidyDibidy. It's like, you're not going to find it, right? Like, I don't know. You're not going to spell it. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I
Um,
get it.
I mean, that's what it is, right?
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's interesting that there's like three separate named different things under the table here. It's like, oh my, that's a lot of work.
Well, and that's not particularly good either, right? So maybe just everything should be retrotournaments.org, right? The
Maybe, yeah.
domain. Right? Or maybe everything should be just the Competitive Retro Gaming Association, SIRGA or something. I don't know, but that
Yeah.
no, I'm working against myself not having a good name and not having it done and like dusted. And I tried to do that. Then I'm still here talking to you when I should have had this figured out, being like, I'm not super sure.
I
So,
mean, it's a lot to think about, and because, once you have it, you kind of have to roll with it, I guess. I guess
and
not
that's kind of where
necessarily, but like, yeah.
you can always, right? But that's where I think, um, hopefully, in a few months, less if some web developer out there is interested in helping, uh, we have retrotournaments.org is kind of the landing spot, right?
Okay.
And then it links people to past videos. And those might be on youtube.com/FlibidyDibidy, just because that's where people are right now. But also, I know Anthony out there, who's incredible, the most incredible volunteer for this whole thing, who's done the most work, second to me. Anthony has like been working on putting together different social media things as well, and doing a great job of that. So it's like, you know, as we kind of get roll that sort of stuff out and get content on there and people can share. I don't know. It's that process. It's that never ending messy process of step by step by step, right?
Mhm. But it sounds like, to summarize, the end goal is a nonprofit organization for retro game tournaments with the whole site, all these volunteers, all this stuff. But we're like in the first step of a pretty tall staircase, probably. So,
Right, right. And it depends on other people being involved, right?
hmm
Um, but then the funny thing about that is that I have not done a great job of involving other people, right? My own, like, no, like
yeah,
I need to do a better job of letting people be involved. And that's hard too, right? Um, so it's like it's I don't know. It's just all of it is that weird. I feel like I'm just repeating myself.
yeah. Well, I mean, all of it is just an incredible ton of work with something that's like not at all a priority. So it's hard,
Right.
right? So
Right. This is the problem, right? And that's where it's like, okay, if I'm gonna start doing something on it, but my kids need something, like, what am I gonna do? No, no, son, I'm working on my speedrunning.
yeah, sometimes
So,
priorities need to be in a particular order, I guess. So
right, right. And another aspect is that actually by me pursuing my like real career and real work actually works to the benefit of this project in some capacity too, because it's like
because there's
then
parallels between them.
right, because there's
Mhm.
parallels between them, and then also because then I have money to spend on this.
Fair,
You
yeah.
know? That's right.
I kind of forget things cost money sometimes.
Right, like eight CRTs, not particularly good ones, but if we want better ones,
Mm.
I know that, and then all the consoles, and then even like hardware mod, the PCB, I had to get manufactured in China and then sent over, and then I assembled it by hand and things like that has like all the components and the tools and I don't know, it just goes on and on,
Yeah.
right? So it's like it's useful to have some hobby money for that kind of thing.
hmm
But that is another aspect that the retrotournaments.org/support will eventually be a thing. People who do want to help out in that regard, right? Um, and like I don't know, like that part is hard. That's weird for me. I don't particularly like asking for money. So that's why I like the idea of having it as a nonprofit organization, something that's really open, something that's really clear, that it's like your money is going, and then you can even see that your donation was spent on shipping consoles across the country to host a tournament. You
hmm
know, like something like that. I think is valuable. Um,
Yeah, the
yeah,
donations could go to that, prize money,
right,
flight
right.
costs. It could go to anything. And yeah, it's
Right.
nice
And
to
as
see
long as
where
as
what
long
it's
as
going
it's
to.
clear,
Yeah.
exactly, as long as it's clear, right? And it's fair, right? Like even Andrew G was at our last tournament and he contributed to the prize pool,
hmm
right? So like, and that's so how great is that, right? Like I love having that, um, you know, that was really cool
hmm
to have him there and to have him like be like, I would like to support this and contribute to the prize pool, make it more intriguing, interesting and fun. Like how cool, right?
Oh yeah.
And I'd love to give that to have more, allow for more of that.
hmm So as it stands, obviously the end goal that'd be nice is to have like this whole team of people working towards the same goal. But as it stands right now, is it really just you and then Anthony does kind of the film and stuff, and that's pretty much it right now?
Yeah, I guess so, right? Like here's the thing, right? Um, like I said, I haven't done a great job of involving other people,
hmm
right? Or giving them jobs to do, right? So like, um, there's people out there who are interested and who are like, I would like to do something. It's hard for me to get them. What do I get them to do?
Yeah.
How do I involve someone effectively and with their skill sets and with their balance and someone, and it's like that's hard, right?
Oh yeah.
Actually, even in my real work, I'm just coming up against that as well. So like for the longest time, I've been, an engineer, individual contributor, right? Like the engineer who writes the code. Now, in my new role, I actually have people that are depending on me to tell them what to do.
Mm.
So it's like I'm trying to learn that aspect, and it's challenging, right?
It's
But
another
I
one of
think
those parallels I'm recognizing where your real job and this hobby are kind of like you're having the same skill sets be applied as it goes
right.
on. It's interesting.
And that's what I love about it, right? Because I can justify to myself time spent on learning the technologies associated, with speedrunning because they apply to my work, or my work applies to this, or whatever, right? It's all kind of, and like this whole new management type, whatever, or like organizational, multiple people kind of thing is another skill set that I want to improve on, and like communication and that kind of stuff, right? It's just all, I'm trying to make it all a part of becoming a better person. I don't
Hmm.
know. Yeah.
I mean,
But
it
that's what
takes
I
a lot of
like
work.
about
Yeah.
that's what I like about speedrunning. Like you've probably experienced even in your own life, your efforts in speedrunning, right? In the world records that you've achieved and the time that you've spent in. Has that improved like your patience or your tenacity or your ability to stick to something and accomplish it? Right?
Uh, no, but what it
Oh.
has helped. I mean, what the community has helped with like my like social ability to be social. Like there's no way I could have ever like s- done a run on GDQ 5 years ago or like
Right.
commentated something and felt comfortable with both with knowing the information and presenting it. But now I can do that. And
Right.
if it
Right.
wasn't for speedrunning, that wouldn't have happened. That's the big one. That's the big takeaway I have from the whole thing.
And that's phenomenal, right? For every person, it's something, something else
Yeah,
that helps it.
everyone's
And
affected differently.
yeah,
And
community, I love that, right? I really appreciate that aspect, and how, like, being a part of the community is great, and having those opportunities, and that's super cool to hear that, that has positively impacted you in your real life as well, right? And
mhm.
I think that's kind of that's what it should be about, right?
Yeah, no,
Like,
what I've heard
so.
from many is speedrunning helps them with something else in their life, usually. It could be a varied array of different things, but it's usually something is benefited through this, which I mean is just cool,
Yeah, no,
for
I
lack of a better
100%
word.
agree. Yeah, but that's the point, right? It's just something that's cool or it's fun, like, and that's what's so valuable. Like for me personally, like my grind, which wasn't a particularly long grind by speedrunning standards, but um, to get the 458, uh, that did impact me positively, right? I feel like the sticking to it, right, and being like, you know, I don't know, I'm gonna do this. I have the skill set to do this, and I'm gonna put it together, and I'm gonna do it, and the determination and stuff. That was cool, and that's part of what motivates me to potentially go for a 457 or something, or maybe another game or whatever. But I think there's value in that. Um, it's funny. I got one comment on that video from someone who said, like, like, I love this video, and I showed it to my daughter to show to her that, you might see the successes of something, but look at all the times that didn't happen. You didn't succeed, right?
Hmm.
And that's kind of the point, right? I think demonstrating to people that, like, there's that whole aspect where it's like you have to, yes, you're gonna fail. Things are not gonna work all the time. There's gonna be mistakes. There's gonna be things that go wrong and whatever, and that's fine. If you keep going, eventually you'll get it. I don't know. That sounds kind of a little weird, but like that is, a big part of that. I think speedrunning really demonstrates that if you kind of stick to it, eventually you're gonna get your thing. You're gonna get what your goal.
No matter how long it may take, Eventually.
Yeah, or maybe you'll start lowering your expectations too, and then you
Yeah.
hit it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot to learn, for me to learn at least, with everything, even though I've been doing this for a while. So that's the other thing. Like, you're constantly getting better in just multiple aspects, not just your time is getting lower. So it's cool. I like it for that.
No, absolutely. But yeah, so that's just um, I think that's a really important part of this, and the competition, right? I think competition is just such a great motivator, right? I've heard of people who came to the events that we've had so far who are like, yeah, I kind of got back into the game and was practicing in the lead up to the event and like getting excited, and you start feeling all those emotions about being next to people and wanting to do your best, and isn't I think that's good, right? Like that's fun, you know.
Mhm. No, these are great. I mean, I think it's my favorite thing I've ever been a part of so far.
Hmm. No, I love
So,
to hear that. That's phenomenal.
and
That's great.
I just wanted to succeed more and more because there's so much potential, but it's just so hard to reach its potential with just how life works, I guess. So it's a lot
Yeah,
of effort.
yeah, yeah. Because I think hmm, that is true, right? Some of the like the videos or some of the stuff like we hasn't reached a tremendously large audience in like internet terms.
Except for that
Then
one, but yeah.
except well, yeah, but yeah, that one that absolutely. Um, but then if you think about a few thousand people watching you, right? Like even that's a lot of people,
That is a lot of
right?
people.
Like we went to a I went to a hockey game, and like the people in the stadium at one point, I was like, wow, I actually have a YouTube video with this number of views in it. And you like look around the stadium and it's like, wow, okay, actually, numbers are tricky,
And
right?
then you have one
uh,
with like thousands of stadiums. It's like, oh,
yeah. Oh,
oh,
yeah, that one. Yeah, but that one's
an
weird,
exception,
right?
I guess.
It's
But
like but yes, it is weird to have like a city saw that video, you know.
yeah,
Um,
that it is
actually,
weird when you
my
put visualization next to the number and you're like,
uh,
oh,
oh, my sister's brother-in-law saw it before, or no, no, my brother-in-law. I don't know, sister's boyfriend. Sorry, should have been more clear. My sister's boyfriend
okay,
saw the video before he knew me. I'm like, that's the one time I had,
that's
someone
crazy.
in real life who had seen it, which was pretty funny.
Oh,
But yeah.
back in like 2018 or 2019, the first like big video I was ever in was one of Bismuth's videos, the 455 one. Because I had the 8.4 individual level world record at the time. So he talked about how 8.4 could be improved and then showed my thing. And then a little while after that video, I got a text message from a neighborhood friend that lived 2 doors down from me saying, "Hey, this was your gamer tag, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's me."
Isn't that so weird?
I
That's so cool.
hadn't
That's a
heard
great,
from him in
yeah.
years, and I haven't heard from him since. But he apparently found me randomly on YouTube. So there you go. And that was back when I was like super noob. So it's interesting.
Right, right. No, like how that is really cool. Yeah, I had one other actually. So a grad student was that I was at school with was subscribed to Cosmic,
Yeah.
and yeah, that was another pretty funny one. Um, yeah, I don't know that it is weird, right? Because we're doing this thing in like our spare time, and it's kind of whatever. But like, I don't know, it has impact and it's intriguing. It's cool. I don't
Yeah,
know.
you,
It's
you
fun.
don't
It's
think
fun. It's
about
fun
how
learning
many
about it.
people
Yeah.
actually care until just randomly in life you stumble upon someone that cares. It's like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh wow.
because there's a lot of people out there. It's hard to find
Oh
people
yeah.
that are interested in the same things you are sometimes.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. And that's why like I'm so grateful to the support that I've already received. Like some people with like super thanks or whatever,
Hmm.
right? Have like actually supported, and like and that's incredible. Like and I'm like, wow, like you actually are so interested, that you want to see this succeed, right? So that's why I'm not I don't know, I'm just so grateful for the people that are interested.
Hmm.
So we'll see
Oh
how
yeah.
it goes.
I do want to touch on more of the video stuff.
Hmm.
I know we didn't really cover like the all the sub five videos.
Oh
I know
yeah,
those were a
yeah,
ton of effort as well, and that's where
yeah.
my my desktop background comes from. There,
Right.
as we mentioned briefly earlier.
Yeah, I love those videos. That's so fun.
Hmm.
The first one, what a journey.
Yeah,
Oh man,
that's
so
still my
many things.
favorite one. Out of, I
Yeah,
prefer that one
yeah,
out of two personally because I like all all of them always had different colors and then the
yeah.
names. You would
Oh,
display
just
every single name at some point. Yeah, it was so
yeah.
cool.
The coordination involved and the people. That one was such a fun. That was such a great journey. The Discord and everyone, and like everyone who helped a lot. I sent like letters to. I like hand wrote
Hmm.
letters and sent them all around the world to people, like thanking them. And like that was so cool to have like people, because and we were following along, right? Like in the beginning we were tagging images, we were training neural
Hmm.
networks to like identify what was going on, and then it just turned out that the video quality was so variable.
Hmm.
It was so hard. um and it just didn't work. And then I wanted to do all 1,000. I had scripts. I had all 1,000 or so runs on speedrun.com at the time on my hard drive. Like all the videos
My
and
God.
stuff. And like, and it's funny because some of them are like, one of them was like 6 hours long. um, but yeah, we were trying to get all of them, and then we kind of it was that process of lowering your expectations and finding different things, and eventually we wrote a whole program, Graphite or whatever. That I love that program, was really cool. Um, and it allows you to have the video and the tasks and to task. Did you ever recreate a run, or
I
have
didn't
you? You
because
didn't? Yeah,
it's just
it's
not my skill
time.
set, I guess, and yeah,
Yep,
time.
time and whatever. I don't blame you, but there were people that did like dozens, and just incredible, right? And that was such a community effort, and we got them all together and to combine them, and then yeah, the colors and the names. I did, yeah, that was a great thing. One. Um, then yeah, we did it again. I'll probably do it again. I don't know. Maybe in 2 years.
Yeah.
I just think what I like about it, um, is that it involves it shows everyone, like okay, a sub 5 is hard, right? So if someone's
Yes.
out there trying to get a sub 5, like that's tricky. It's going to take some work, it's going to take some time. um but it's also attainable, because like, I mean, I did it and I'm not a great gamer. you know so like, it is attainable. It is hard, but it is attainable. And then I feel like it's just a cool boundary. Like if you cross that boundary, then eventually someone might take half an hour to recreate your run and then put it in a video with everyone else. I think that's cool. I don't know.
Mm,
It's like,
yeah.
I do love those videos. So those one, yeah, the community and showing everyone. It's fun, and you get to see some crazy stuff, right? Like 3Creepio's bullet bill glitch. He's still the
Hmm.
only one who does it that way, or was, at least when we put the last one together. That's super fun to see. Um, I have some really cool visualizations of the data there that I need to show, but I just haven't time. But anyway,
Hmm.
um, and then yeah, no, that one's really cool. I I'm glad. I'm glad that it shows it is your background and stuff, right? It's another
Hmm.
data is beautiful type thing. Um, a slight variant on the thing, but it's cool.
Hmm. It also helps that that first one showed like probably the best place I'll ever be in any percent. So
yeah.
that was good.
Yeah, good to get it at
I
that.
was
To
top
get
three
it
at
at that
one
time.
point. Here's the
Yep,
proof.
yep. Here it is. No, absolutely, it's cool because it's a snapshot of a moment in time,
Hmm.
and yeah, that was funny. Um, we were a lot more. There was a lot of activity at the time that we were putting that
Oh,
together
yeah.
too, right? With like a lot of trading between Miniland and Nifsky, on the world record side, and a lot of movement in that high in for you guys,
Hmm.
you incredible gamers. Um, and it was pretty, I don't know, there was a lot of stuff going on, so it was a really cool time, and I met a lot of really great people in the Discord who helped with that and put time into it, and just a phenomenal project. um yeah. I It's funny because you can learn some really cool things, and you can find out some really fun things about different runs. um like for like people who had incredible 8.4s, and but lost frame rules earlier and
Hmm.
stuff, and like you see like this a story of someone different, and like who you typically wouldn't see, because it's like, okay, they don't have the world record or something, they don't have the that, but you get to see their journey, like their best at that point in time too. Yeah, I don't know.
No,
Anyway.
it's cool. I mean, I'm into the whole visualization thing. I've made my own kind of content
Yeah.
that kind of visualizes stuff. Like I got
That's right.
my
I
own.
saw with the all of them ending at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
that's kind of a unique way of showing it, I guess. Kind of puts things into perspective, having everyone catch up to each other. Uh, so I think that visualization's cool too, but I mean it's still a bunch of screens, so it's a bit difficult to properly display
Yeah.
it. But I mean it's the best I can
Yeah.
do.
Well, but there's value in that kind of visualization too, right? There is value in the side by side.
Hmm.
I don't want to I'm not disparaging the side by side. I'm just saying, like, if you
No, I
can,
know.
like, whatever, right? And I enjoyed your video because it kind of, instead of starting at the same time, it's ending at the same time, which sounds like, well, no, but that does make that does make a really cool difference. Actually, I think I saw Sully in the chat, and Sully put together, I think, one of their, maybe I'm wrong, of their personal best ending at the same time or something like that. It was
I,
super cool.
I've done I've done those as well.
You did too. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's such a cool way to do it.
Um, I feel like I'm gonna make a video of that every time I like retire from a category and just be like, all right, here's all of my runs in one video. Here's like a link. I actually have like a whole speedrunning document where I keep track of every
Yeah,
PB I've ever gotten, and then you can view the PB history. There's a chart, a link, attempt number, date, everything. Like,
that's
uh,
awesome. I love that. Yeah.
I have some data nerd in me too, so
Yeah, yeah, yep.
it all
No,
works out.
definitely. And yeah, yeah, that's great. That's super cool. I'll have to keep my eyes open for that, because I love that kind of stuff, right? Obviously,
Hmm.
it's so cool to see. And yeah, and obviously world record progressions too, right? Like, I think
Oh
that's a
yeah.
that's a that's a great sort of like way of talking about the history, and like, and that, and like, so personal stats, history, all that kind of stuff. But then all of that, I feel, needs live competition too, right? Back
Yeah.
to kind of try and bring it around too, because it's like that's another way of celebrating the community. And one of the things that I like about the live competition is that it's a recurring thing. There's only so many world records out there, right? There's only
Yeah.
so many left that could happen, you know of
Tournaments are
course.
forever.
Yeah, exactly, right? The tournament like that, and it can promote like rivalries, or I don't know. um I haven't really had any drama yet. Actually, I think that's what we need.
We
you know
need drama.
we need some drama, because then that's how the speed running YouTubers out there will actually cover what happens.
Mm.
you know
You see,
Needs to be some
I've
kind.
been involved in too much drama recently. I'm
Oh, have
good,
you?
actually.
Okay. Yeah, I don't follow the everything too much. So yeah, I guess avoiding the drama is probably a
Yeah.
good thing for the people involved.
If you're not on Twitter, good. Stay that way.
I haven't really,
It is a
haven't gotten.
it is a place where things happen. That's all I can
Fair
say.
enough.
But
Okay. Yeah. No. I'm just saying, like, from like from a some excitement. would be good. Some sort of,
Hey,
you
my
know,
console crashed. Drama,
drama, console crash. It would have
drama.
been, but if you would have came up and like punched me or something, right? Like, hey, then.
Hmm.
So like, I'm not recommending it. Please don't. But like, I don't know. I don't know what needs to be there, but somehow
Hey,
excitement's a good thing, right?
you start the drama with Lakitus.
Yeah, but that's serious. So my
Mm.
oldest son is 11. Oh my gosh, time. Anyway, and he he would always play as Akitu. I have learned how to pronounce it now. Um, but like we always thought it was Lakitu.
It
But
might
anyway,
be actually. I don't
I,
know.
so anyway, tangent. But I did
Yes.
I did look at the like the show the Mario show. There's one scene with like I don't know something like Red Baron. I don't know. Anyway, and he said like Lakitu or something. I don't know. It sounds kind of e. Anyway.
Hmm.
Point being, um, my son would always play as Lakitu in Mario Kart when we would
Mm.
play together because he thought he was cute and he thought he was like fun, like a cool character. And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. And then I always like it always seems so so superfluous for you guys to murder him.
So now you're
You're
making me
on the
feel bad.
yeah,
I
like
didn't
you
know.
are you
I
are
didn't know there was emotional impact here.
no, like you are legitimately murdering my son's favorite character every time
Mm.
you do that. Okay? No, no,
This isn't. See, this is how the drama starts.
yeah,
Now we're
exactly. So
doing it.
now,
It's funny
um,
because I was like, whenever I do it, I'd shout like, "I have no remorse. I don't care. I'm gonna do it
yep.
every time." Although I didn't know
Yep.
the emotional integrity behind it. My bad. But
Yes. No, I appreciate that.
I'll
No,
keep up the drama though because it's funny.
you have to, right? You
Yes, I
have
mean,
to,
yeah.
and it's fun. I do enjoy it. I think it's funny. I think it, I don't know. Originally, I was like, what the heck? Why do you guys do that? But I think it's
Swag.
funny, and I'm exactly, and I appreciate that. But what's funny, the swag thing, uh, and I don't know. I would have to go through all of the games, and I haven't. But uh, Nifsky tried to swag in 8-4 in one of the very first races,
Mhm.
jumping off the back of a pipe, I believe. Unnecessary, right? You can just jump all the way over. Like I don't know. Like, something like that was trying to show up and then never again. I don't think has died to swag. So, that's one of the things in the tournament setting where it's like if it's dangerous, I mean, I would love for Lakitu to kill or Lakitu to kill someone. That would be incredible. That would be phenomenal. But
Well,
I don't think that's a particularly dangerous trick, right?
yeah, no. What sucks about him is, you might know this, but Lakitu's like programming is bugged. Like
Right.
the spinies he throws are supposed to like actually go forward and like match kind
Right.
of your movement. So he would be a lot more. You'd like have to stomp on him if that stayed
Yeah,
true.
if he was, yeah, if he was actually dangerous, perhaps
Yeah,
then I would be better to swallow it. I would or whatever. I would be
yeah.
okay with it then.
But no,
Yeah.
it's just literally swag. So oh well. But
Yeah, no, it's fine. You and the other murderers. I do have all the data, and I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to go through. I think I have 550 something recorded games total across
holy
all the
crap.
events, or something like that. And I can write the code to go through and identify who is the most, sparing or
Or the
not.
most murdery. That'd
Exactly.
probably be
I
up
think
there.
what on the pay, like on the website, when it kind of comes together, I'm gonna have a counter next to your name or
Ooh.
somewhere you'll be able to see how many times you've done it because numbers like stats like that are always fun.
No, yeah.
Um,
I like stats, as I've been saying. So,
mhm,
but
mhm.
that reminds me, like, I'm so used to seeing the live product, it all happening in real time. But that first tournament, I couldn't be there, so I had to watch the YouTube videos that came out, which
Right.
have a ton of post production, where like
Yes.
you actually put all the games and they start all at the same time, even though
Mhm.
live they probably didn't, and you can see
That's right.
everything that way. So
Yeah,
that's cool.
and that's all thanks to Anthony,
Mm.
right? Like
Is he
I
the video
genuinely,
editor for those?
yes,
Oh
he
wow.
was.
So
Yep,
he
yep,
does it all.
yep.
Damn.
Oh yeah, no, just like just an we're so fortunate
Because I
to
was gonna
have this.
say the like quality of those videos that I remember seeing, I was blown away. Like
Isn't it incredible?
it's
Even oh,
crazy.
well, this is why Anthony's so incredible. Why we're so fortunate, like, because he has like is won multiple. I think they're called regional Emmys or something. Like he's an award winning videographer and filmmaker, and like
Oh,
even like
okay.
able to do things that I don't even like color grading and like he's actually like a pro. Right, like
Okay.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's like so yeah, he did the editing like the pace one, right? Remember the pace 2023 video.
Yeah, there's a little recap video.
The
Yeah.
it's amazing, right? Like because
Hmm.
with the music and like things are timed to the music, and he's telling these stories that like interweave, and like it's like an actual professional video. Like if you were to try and like pay someone to do that, like if you wanted to hire someone to do that, it would be multiple five figures. Like it would be middle,
Damn.
like yeah, tens of thousands of dollars, right, to get something like that. More probably.
Hmm.
It's like a very professional product. Like we're so fortunate to have Anthony there, like and willing to do that kind of thing, right? So it's like I don't even know how to like express that. So it's like yeah, those videos and what I'm trying to do with some of that, what we're trying to do is I think kind of try like if you put all your eggs in like one basket, that's not always a great thing to do, right? I'd like to have more shorter videos. I think
Hmm.
that's more modern, like that's more modern. I don't know, like that's more the way things are going. Like, unfortunately, on TikTok and
Yeah.
Instagram or whatever, right? Like
It keeps
YouTube
flip flopping
Shorts.
too, though. So it's like you never
I
truly know
know.
with the algorithm.
Yeah, and that's where like don't I don't particularly want to chase the algorithm. I don't
Yeah,
have like a good
you
idea how to
certainly
do
don't
that.
have to.
Yeah, and I don't know how either. So like I couldn't even if I wanted to. But I think that I think what we would like to do with kind of the footage from Pace, which should be coming together. I actually have some work to do to sync them up. Anyway,
Hmm.
is more shorts, right? More shorter, kind of digestible content, and and putting it on youtube.com/FlibidyDibidy and then also other places.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, so there is a YouTube content in the works as well. Just
yes, yeah,
yeah,
especially
plenty of
yeah
that.
for Pace. Yep, yep,
Okay.
yep. And actually, I think did Anthony interview you at all when you were
Very briefly, he asked me
or just
about
like kind of briefly?
the Mister stuff, and that
Oh,
was
okay,
about it.
cool. Yeah, Anthony's always been trying to get me on the Mister, but I think that's because he wants me to like do the smarter thing. Right? It would be
Yeah,
smarter to
I mean, yeah.
go down that path. It would be more
I mean, if you can
realistic.
hook a NES controller to it, I mean, I don't see a personal problem with it if it makes things easier. I mean, as long as everyone
Yeah,
is
yeah.
playing fairly, like okay.
Yep. Well, and that would be, and on CRTs, that's important to me. CRTs is a
Yes.
non-negotiable for me.
I mean, I've
Like,
had to
yeah,
play on like RetroTink on a monitor for like GDQ. That's the
uh,
setup they have, and
yikes, yikes.
I mean, I did it fine. So I mean,
There's quite a bit of the RetroTink like 2X or I don't know,
mhm.
end of whichever one it was. It's at least a frame, or maybe a bit
Yes,
more of lag.
I think the 2X was like one frame. But I always played on 5Xs, and I don't
Oh,
remember,
okay,
but they
okay.
felt like on the GDQ stage, I'm sure it was a 5X, and then I'd in the practice room they'd have the 2Xs, so that's when I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that feels like one frame. But I'd like practice on people's 5Xs that they'd bring. I'd be like, you
Mm-hmm.
know what, this feels pretty normal.
Yeah,
Now
okay,
it depends on the monitor, of course, but like,
right.
and
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole can of worms that you can just eliminate by just using CRTs. But yeah, I mean, the
Then
Mister's a good solution because you can do that.
but you
So
ran into you sometimes would get the bad CRT, right? Not all my CRTs are the
true.
same.
Yeah,
Right?
that
You know?
there's pros and cons for every single thing. That's the problem. There's nothing that's just like perfect. No, it doesn't exist.
No, there's no like just end all solution. Except if I could get us all, 14 M4Us, the Sony Trinitrons. If I could get a whole bunch of those,
Yeah, good luck with that.
this is a missed opportunity. I think it was a few years ago. Was like a pallet of PVMs over in like I don't know the Middle East somewhere.
Mm.
Was listed on eBay. You could buy a pallet of these PVMs. They weren't the best. They weren't. I think they were 14-inch ones, and it was like a pallet of like new old stock or whatever they say. And I should have done it. I should have pulled the trigger. But it would have been hard to explain to my wife that I spent multiple thousands of dollars getting a pallet of CRTs shipped over from.
Yeah, that
it wasn't the time. But I do see that as a missed opportunity sometimes.
I mean, what can you do?
Yeah, just hope what we actually need to look for. It's like those mobile games. Mobile games are supported by those like whales, right?
Hmm.
That's what we need to find. We need to find an extraordinarily generous person who would be willing to buy us all of our professional video monitors and all Mr. FPGAs for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of wish the pace events had those kind of videos where everything was synced up properly and had all the information and stats and everything. That was because I really liked how
Yeah, I
that
was gonna
first
ask.
one. But
Yeah,
I know that's a whole other like big work thing, so I understand like not doing that, but I mean, those
yeah. I
first
think
set of videos were just so good. They were
I,
so good.
I'm glad to hear. Like I loved hearing that from you actually, because I don't know how I felt about them. I don't know if I felt
Really.
like they really hit the mark, right?
No, I
I felt
like
like you did.
having
Okay,
like,
yeah.
runner like I forget what they were called, but like in between races it's like here's this runner and some information about them. Oh, and you have the footage of them, like you have the
Yeah,
game, and
that
then
was
if something
cool.
happens, you can like showcase their reaction in real time. That's something I wish Pace, and I talked to Milo, but I guess it never happened. But like, the Pace, they have the screen, and then they have like a video for the commentary. I wish it was a video of the players. I want to
Yeah.
see the
Oh, yeah.
reactions in real time.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
I
what I
I
want.
100% agree. And that's where like so Anthony had I think like a bunch of cameras set up filming you
Yeah, he
guys while
he
you
he
were
was
playing.
doing that,
Yeah.
but
And
that's why
like
I want these
that's
videos, because you can get all
mm,
the footage synced, and you have your whole replay things you can do, but then
oh,
you can get the real time reactions. It's so
I
good.
know.
That
And it
content is
is.
so
It's
good.
incredible. But it needs like a team,
I know.
right?
That's the
It
thing.
needs
Yeah.
ah, this is the like you need like that kind of thing. And to do it live, like and to cut between the different things, how
Mm-hmm.
cool would that be? Like
Oh my
when you
god.
got your one frame jump on Nifsky to win that race, and
Yeah.
Nifsky did 2 frame, you did 1 frame. Uh, wouldn't it have been awesome to have the camera cut to you showing your like intensity as you nail like a really hard trick, and then like
And then
and
pop off at the end. Yeah, yeah.
yes,
I
right.
get
I
it.
I
I get
I
it.
100% agree. But it's like, but this is the dang problem.
Yeah,
Like, how
yeah.
do it's how do we do it?
I mean,
How?
there's so much to do and just not enough time and people to do it. I understand that's the problem, but God, I can dream, right?
Yeah, and that's where like so part of me thinks it could get there, right?
Hmm.
Like if we get you know could. I really think it could. I think we need a few more. Maybe we need a few more games. Maybe we need to improve some stuff a bit. We need to get in front of some people, the right people.
Hmm.
Um, but I think it could get there. It could
And
be something
that's
really special.
it's just so interesting seeing like the birth of this and knowing what the potential could be of this. And God,
Yeah. No,
it's just so cool.
it's and it does. I get really excited about it at times. Like when I'm talking to you right now, I'm like I'm really fired up. I'm like this is awesome. I really want to work on it. And then other times I'm like, why am I doing this? What am I doing?
I mean,
You
it's a
know?
lot.
Yeah,
So yeah.
but so it's a balance. It's a tricky one. I would I love hearing I actually do. I love hearing that from you about that you liked those videos. I liked them too. I loved having the runner profiles in there. Oh, and we had the little explanations from Bismuth. That
Oh
was
yeah, that's
so
right.
so kind of Bismuth to put those in to have those for us. And then Anthony put those graphics together. Oh man, I don't know. It's just like
Yeah,
yeah.
that's something I really hate that I missed that first one is because just watching those
Mhm.
videos, I was like, this is the coolest thing.
No,
So,
and I just need to I need to do it again. Um, with a focus on that.
mhm.
Actually, I wonder if Pace is the right venue for that. I wonder if
It's
we could.
definitely a good venue. Like you can do
It is.
if you had the time and blah blah blah. Again, you could do both, right? Like pace, like oh yeah,
Well,
if you'll have us do it,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
do your own thing. Obviously, that's hard. I'm just saying, like theoretically, like
Um, wonder if we could get a team.
yeah.
Honest, maybe from like a local school.
Oh,
I don't know. That's kind of you gotta watch out. Anyway, uh, um, but like I don't know. Maybe there's some like kind of learning or group that we could coordinate with or someone like because you need multiple people on cameras do that live. You need stuff prepared ahead of time to cut to. You need like a lot of you need a director, right? Someone switching between. I don't know. Anthony knows a lot of this stuff. It's unfair of me to ask Anthony to like do it because like he's a pro and he has to provide for his family and to do that stuff too, right? So it's like I don't know. Yeah.
yeah. At the end of the day, just more people are needed, and it's hard to get people. So I
Yeah,
get it.
more people, more. And then if I can't, if we can't find them or whatever, we can pay them, we can buy them, but people's time is valuable,
Oh
right?
yeah,
And
no,
and
I get
and
it.
it's expensive. Um, and then it needs to it needs to received, right? Like it needs
Hmm.
to hit the right notes on internet and be seen by people. Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
I
I
don't know.
mean, I hope what I'm doing here somehow helps get the word out in a way. Like,
Oh, absolutely, I really
I mean,
appreciate
I
it. Yeah.
want I want more people to see this because again, I think it's the coolest thing we have right now because nothing else in speedrunning is really doing it this way. Or I could just say nothing is at
And
all.
because they're smarter, right? The people who
Well, I
aren't doing
mean,
it, they're smart. They're taking they're like, hey, that looks like a lot of work. That looks kind of sticky. I'm not going to do it. They're making the right choice at the beginning of the project instead of. But are they? Because I don't know.
mhm.
Maybe and this is a note to anyone out there who does want to be involved. I would like to use your time and your effort and to be involved if you think if you want to try and get another game working or you want to do that kind of stuff, I would love to work with you on that and to try and get that sorted. um and yeah, let's work together. And right, that's what I would love to have. Mhm.
Mhm. Um so a question I have that I just thought of talking about like the whole live event thing, is it somehow possible because we can't all reset frame perfectly. Is there
Right.
like a way to like because the way it all works is you can perfectly to the frame get a frame count of the person's run, right?
Yep.
So despite like the resets not being in sync and the Mario's not being perfect, like their timing on the leaderboard will be no matter what. But is there a way to like delay people that, started first into the last one so they're all synced on the live
There
feed
is.
somehow? There is?
Yeah,
Ooh.
I could have done that. I
Ooh.
actually decided not to.
Oh,
And
interesting.
yeah, I could have. The reason and this is a good question, right? I think the reason I decided not to is that in the live event, I wanted what you were seeing to be true to what was happening at that moment in time,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, but then it was kind of weird because sometimes people even were like a whole frame rule
Mm-hmm.
off from
Like,
hitting start
wouldn't it
or
have been
something,
so cool to see Jeremy and I's tie be like literal, but he
like
looked like quite a bit ahead of
yeah,
me because of
right.
but
But that's where hopefully in the video that comes after you
okay,
guys will
okay.
be tied, right?
Because yeah,
So because
you
I
can
can I can synchronize it,
yeah,
and
the
I
post
do for
production. Yeah.
yeah, I do for that purpose.
Okay.
The problem is anyway, lots of weird technical things. I could, um, maybe that's better.
I mean, I don't know. This
You
is
think it, you
in my
think it's
opinion,
better?
it's better,
Yeah,
but
you think
I'm
it's
one
better?
person with
Okay.
one opinion, so like,
Well, yeah, no, and I guess, and my opinion at the time when I was writing that piece of code was, um, instead I'm going. Well, I guess I decided not to
make it true to
implement the
life.
extra bit. Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. I
Hmm.
decided to make it true to what was happening at that instant. Um, I mean, it would always be pretty close, though, right? So, like, if
It
a
would
runner
be.
starts freaking out, maybe the screen is like less than half a second different. Um,
Hmm.
the audience would actually benefit more from having people lined up.
Maybe. I don't know. There's a lot to think about, but like I like seeing the data all perfect and neat, because like
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
one reason I like that video is they all start perfectly in sync. There's just something cool about it. And then if you tie to the frame, you can see you
And
tie to the frame.
yeah, that would have been good. Especially, I can't. Yeah, you and Jeremy. Way to ruin my day.
uh, I'm so sorry. Guilty as charged. No.
You got that was so funny though. I was like, oh my gosh.
The reveal
Uh,
was crazy. Just putting the names together and then the numbers being the same. Although I did win by like 0.005,
yeah, yeah, yeah. By a few clock
less than a
cycles,
frame.
essentially.
So
Yeah, yeah.
I
Less
mean,
less than a frame.
yeah.
Because the way that I think it records, so it actually counts number. So there's a pin in your console that's called M2, and it is comes out of the central processing unit, the actual clock inside the crystal oscillator. It has something going into the CPU, and then it divides it. And I count the number of times that pin goes high.
Mm.
It goes at something like 2.7 megahertz. So I have a really accurate time, much more
Hmm.
accurate than frame. But of course, we think in frames.
Of course,
Um,
because that's what's
so
fair. But
and yeah, but
unfortunately,
that one was very very funny. But I didn't. Right, we didn't have the rules for it.
no,
And that's
we
another
just
problem.
taught. Well, the problem is that was our best performance.
Yeah,
We're already tied in points, so we just tied on all single fronts, and there's
yeah,
nothing you
and
can do.
so no, exactly, and that's where. So I think the when I write down the rules,
Hmm.
it'll just go to the next. It would just go to the next time you played, your next best time,
Mm,
right, and so on until the
I
end.
see.
And if you tied on literally everything, maybe I would, maybe we would count it as just a tie. I don't
That's a lot less probable, so that's probably the
know.
way to
Yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah.
But
Um,
yeah, obviously still in work in progress, but what's working right now is like mind blowing that it even all
yeah,
functions
no,
the
it's
way
fine.
it does.
Yeah, and oh man, some of it is held together with like just like a hope and a prayer. I mean, because
So
like
I've noticed, but
yeah,
the end
there's a bit
result
of
is
that.
always seems pretty good.
Yeah, it's a part of it is it's a way for me to break away from the like because the real work that I do is involving decisions that are millions of dollars decisions, right? So you're making a
Oh,
choice. A
okay.
business is making a decision that they need to make the right decision because they need to make the optimal decision because this over the life of the enterprise will correspond to millions and millions of dollars. And it's kind of weird to start when you start thinking about that, right? That
Hmm.
a decision is being made based on some math problem that you solve, right? So I have to be very particular and lots of tests and lots of whatever. And that's not to say, of course, I still make mistakes, which is kind of scary. But anyway,
Hmm.
ultimately, there's many checks in place and all that kind of stuff, right? But at the end of the day, you're making a decision based on a math problem that needs to be right. Whereas what we're doing, I can be a little bit faster. I can be
Hmm.
a little bit, I can just kind of write code,
It's not
a
as
little.
important, unfortunately,
Exactly.
but
It's
it's
just
not.
kind of, yeah. It's just. Oh, sorry. on the mic. But yeah, it's just kind of like, it's fun. I can be a little bit more loosey with what I'm doing.
Hmm. I will say another thing. I guess I'm just gonna give like my opinions on things I'd like
I
fixed
appreciate
is
it.
when like in Warpless how it rounds up, like so all of our 1903s
Ah,
become 1904s. No, no, no,
yes.
no, no,
Oh,
no.
yes. That should be to the frame too, right?
Yeah.
On the timing tower.
I,
I
I
agree.
think even Warpless should have like at least the 10th decimal, right? Because any
Yes.
percent has that. I think it could benefit from that because then that rounding error wouldn't be as prevalent.
Uh, that's a good thing. Oh, the timing tower is the worst bit of the whole code base.
Oh, I see.
We'll
Okay.
say that much. Because I was trying to get it working the way that you actually appreciate, which is that it's not on real time. It's like on individual time, right?
Yeah, it's basically frame counting your run in real time and displaying it properly.
That's right. And
So,
like so it does the extra annoyance of matching. Anyway, I don't know.
I
I don't
see, I
want to.
see.
And so actually, what's funny is like, and then like moving you guys is animated, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like if you go in front of someone, like it jumps you up, and like it's not it like moves. It
Yeah.
doesn't just like one frame and then you're in front. It's kind of gross. That part is really bad.
I
And
mean,
the
I think to the normal observer, even me, I think it looks good.
oh, I mean, it
Um,
looks good. Yeah, the external. It's like
I
that
can't
home.
speak on the programming behind it,
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm talking about. On
fair
the it's like
enough.
that Homer meme or whatever, right? Where he's like, "Oh, wow, it looks great," and then you see behind and everything is like tied up or whatever.
Mm.
Yeah, the code behind that is awful. Um, and but hey, I don't know. It's got to do something, be somewhere. I agree though. I should show you more decimals, and I should truncate instead of round.
Hmm.
Um, because that's
Or
more
when you
conventional.
finish, like just show the exact time to the
Yeah,
thousandth.
to the thousandth. Yeah, that would be
Like
good.
it doesn't have
That
to be
would
there
be
the
good.
whole time, but at the end it could be like, oh, here's the literal time you got. No need to frame
Yep,
count it somewhere else. Like we have it. There it is.
yep, yep. Yeah, no, and I have access to that,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I remember in the first one, there was we ran into this the very first time because like Nifsky was like got finished, and then Nifsky knows all the patterns obviously and
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and he's like, it was like 458.9, and then what was on the screen was 459.0 or something,
Because
right?
it rounded up, right?
Because it rounded incorrectly. I was like, I really should. What's that
Mm-hmm.
time? You know how time is.
Oh no, yeah. It
Right
just
now,
it was just so it made me so angry seeing all these 1903s and it shows 1904
when
and
you
it's
could
like
have had it, yeah.
no, no, no. I know what this is.
I appreciate that. I do appreciate that, and I think that should move up my priority list.
I'm not actually upset about
Absolutely.
it, but
No, but I agree. But that's exactly what I'm talking about, right?
hmm
When we were talking about being genuine and being true to life and being accurate and like that matters, right? And in
it
a
matters in a
competition,
game
that matters,
where you can literally
right?
tie to the frame in a 19-minute run.
Yeah, thanks for that. No, but yeah,
Uh,
it does. It matters, right? Um, and I should. But the thing is, I feel like I'm very careful about a lot of things, and then like the things that slip through the cracks are the things that we, are
mhm.
the ones where it's like, that could be better. So, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get there.
I mean, usually the small things are just small things. It doesn't really matter, but I
But
mean, as
I think
runners,
it
you
does,
notice it, I guess.
and I think it does. Well, I think the funniest thing, though, the biggest issue, at one point, I was 1 pixel off on every sprite. Every
Ooh,
sprite was raised 1 pixel. So you know how like Mario runs and his feet are in the block?
yeah,
Yeah,
they
and
were one high. Okay.
that's what. Yeah, they were one high. I think there's a few videos on my channel. If you look for it, I'm sorry to ruin it for those detail-minded people out there, but I had a bug that it was one high.
Oh
um,
no, it's all ruined. No,
It's all, yeah, I know, but you can't get too hung up on some of those things.
I doubt anyone, even if you're looking at it now, it'd probably be hard to notice. So it's probably fine.
Well, So the thing where you can see it, and I'll ruin it for even more people. You can see it because piranha plants are always hiding in the pipes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're only hidden by 1 pixel. So I think if it's a
Oh
little higher,
no.
you can see them poking out sometimes if you really watch. And then also, I think Mario running on top of the block does look a little weird in some
Oh
aspects.
yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
And for something like a bullet bill glitch or a flagpole glitch, where 1 pixel is the difference.
Mm.
Anyway,
Well.
these are the kind of things that you gotta, I don't know, maybe they reveal how much weirdness is in there, but it also like demonstrates how much effort goes into this, because like,
Mhm. 1 pixel matters. It turns out.
turns out.
Well, I think I've covered everything I wanted to.
Yeah, great.
So, um, if there's something we didn't talk about that you'd like to go over, I mean, let me know.
Yeah, no, I love it. Uh I really appreciate the opportunity to come and to talk to you, and actually to get your feedback is useful. I would like to get more feedback from the runners as I can.
Yeah, you can ask me
And
anything. I love this stuff,
yeah,
so I'm here for it.
awesome. Yeah. Yeah, and I really appreciate that, and I appreciate your involvement and inviting me on, and thank you for that, and also thank you to everyone in the chat who was making comments throughout and stuff like that. And yeah, if people want to be involved in stuff, let's do it, right? I think we have an opportunity here. We have something that could be interesting. Let's see what we can do, right? We'll just see what in a couple of years where we at, step
Yeah,
by step.
go ahead and like shout out the best places for like contact or information and everything.
Oh
I'll
yeah,
link it here
so
as well.
okay, so there is the YouTube channel, youtube.com/FlibidyDibidy. I've obviously subscribed. But if you want to talk to me directly, Discord, I think my Discord messages are open, and I'm dot FlibidyDibidy. I think there's a dot in front.
Hmm.
Join the Discord. I don't know. Like if you're not going to put the work in to find me on Discord, then you're probably not going to put the work in on the project, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, you should be able to join the Discord, find me, message me, whatever. Yeah, I would love anyone. I would love to, and I will try to do better about involving people. Absolutely.
And
Um,
then you have two websites then. It sounds like this retrotournament.org, right? Is kind of
yeah,
under construction.
retrotournaments.org. In the future, that's going to be the one that I want people to go,
Yeah,
so
under
they'll be able to
construction.
find
But
everything.
I know you
Under
have
construction.
FlibidyDibidy.com right now at least,
Yeah, and
which has the link.
FlibidyDibidy.com will eventually send you over there.
All right.
Um,
Well, for now I'll link it. Hopefully. Let
yeah,
me make sure
it's fine.
let me make sure I
Yeah,
spell it
it's
right.
FlibidyDibidy
I did it.
.com.
Huge.
Yes.
Okay. Just got to make sure it's all correct.
Oh, what a silly name. It is what it is.
Well, I mean, I've been stuck with my username for over a decade, so I mean, I get it.
What happens?
We
Yeah.
we all get stuck with what we do, uh, but it works out, I guess. Could be worse.
Yep.
But yeah,
Oh yeah.
you can if you I know we talked a bit about like future plans, but if you want to like summarize like just everything you want to like do with this, go ahead.
Absolutely. So yeah, what I would love. Okay, here's the vision.
Okay.
Here's the future. You have a nonprofit association that is supported by viewers and sponsorships and so on, but a nonprofit organization that is specifically designed, and the goal is to improve retro competitions and tournaments in speedrunning and in these things that we love to do, right? And promote that competition, host the tournaments, be a part of other organizations' tournaments, and have a space where speedrunners and other high level retro gamers, people who try to do the best, can compete and have fun, and we can create content that is enjoyable and is something that resonates with people and provides opportunities in that regard. Like this is, I just think as we expand, if we want to expand to other games, we want to expand to more events, we want to have things, where it's like we provide these opportunities and competitions and get people together a part of a community and to have fun, right? And to do exciting things. And hopefully that will be on retrotournaments.org eventually. And hopefully I will just be one part of a team that is working to make that happen. And yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. Thank you, GTAs. And hopefully you will also be involved. I would love to
I
get
would
your,
like to
your
be
input.
involved, so.
Yes, your input and your feedback, and coming from the perspective of one of those incredible runners yourselves, is highly appreciated and everything. So this is what I would like to do, and I think that we can, um, provide some really fun opportunities for people. That would be
Mhm.
great and exciting.
Well, so far so good. Hopefully it continues to just get better and better as the years go
Yeah,
by.
that's the thing.
So.
Step by step. I'd say maybe we're at, maybe we're getting a 4:59 right now. if that
But we
if
gotta
that
get we gotta tie the
makes sense.
task, so we gotta get there. No.
That's the goal.
That's oh boy. Is that difficult though? Now I'm
Well, it
thinking
just gets
in
more
tying tasks.
exponentially more difficult. I think maybe next year we should be at a low 4:59. That would be a goal, and then maybe we'll get a 4:58 one of these days as an organization. You know what I mean?
I do. We'll see how many other people understand.
Oh, sure, right? That's fine.
I'm
uh,
just messing anyway.
it's okay.
All right.
All right.
Well, yeah, I think I'll end things off here. Unless anyone has a quick question they want to ask before we end, feel free to. But yeah, it looks like we know where to contact. We know the information. I'll link everything where it needs to be linked in YouTube and on stream. And yeah, we
Hmm.
can end things off here. But yeah, thanks for being on and for all the work you've done over the years. I mean, it's incredible to see where it is. So, and I
Thank
really
you.
just hope it continues to be this incredible thing for runners, viewers, and everything because I mean, there's truly nothing else like it, and I just
Yeah.
want to see it
No,
thrive. So,
I, I really appreciate that. Thank you for your involvement, and also for playing, and also for always kind of pushing the rules for me, making me make them. So thank you.
hey,
Right.
eventually we'll get it to where like everyone's happy with it and it all works
Yep.
out, right? So
We'll get there.
we will get there.
Right.
It's a process,
Yes.
but yeah, yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone. I guess we'll end it here, but yeah, just keep
Okay.
watching episodes. I appreciate it. Every
Mhm.
Sunday on the YouTube. And yeah, take care, have a good one, and see you next time. All right,
Yeah.
bye.
Bye.